Thank you. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I am here to present about the cost model for that we did for drone delivery. And I will share, we had two objectives for this cost model. The first one was to understand कि और district और अपनी scale गर्न पर्यो कि implement गर्न पर्यो भने what are the factors that we should be looking at. And the second cost was also to actually take an example district and to incorporate a couple of factors and to see how much will it cost within a 5-year life cycle of a drone to implement a medical drone delivery. So we first started with a cost model and what are the factors in terms of the health facilities and the drones that we should be looking at. So in terms of the health facilities, when we create a cost model in any district, we have to first identify the number of health facilities to target, the number of the number of trips that a drone will take every day, the number of facilities that it will reach every day, and the number of days that the delivery runs every week. In terms of the drone, we also then have to consider what's the maximum weight that the drone can carry, what's the battery life cycle, so how many times does the battery have to be replaced, the highest elevation the drone has to go, and the time that it takes for the drone to travel per trip. So when we actually applied some of these factors to one example district, we took Humla, which is where options has some presence. So even if Humla has, let's say, 28 health facilities, we decided that we will target maybe 12, which are inaccessible. We're going to assume that we are reaching 2 health facilities a day, and that we're delivering we're delivering packages that are about 2 to 4 kilos each. And we'll be delivering 6 days in a week. So cost model, in the cost model, we're also looking at two different types of costs that we factored into our budget. So the first is looking at the capital cost, in which is mainly in year one. So drone medical delivery setup cost type of categories and budget lines are considered on a process. So first is government approval. So we have to set aside personnel and transportation costs for receiving government approvals across multiple ministries. Then is actually purchasing the drone and customizing it. यो cost model मा चाहिँ हामीले त्यो customization locally गर्नेको factor गरेको छ. Third is establishing a drone hub. So in a hospital, we have to establish computers and an internet in order to run the drone. Fourth is looking at building a central drone app. That also we factored doing it locally within Nepal. The second last bullet point is looking at personnel training. So to run the program, what kind of staff do we need? First, drone pilot center. Then we need assistance for the drone pilot. Then we need field monitors. So when the drone is running, who is in the field to make sure that it's in the air. And finally is also local health staff. So making sure that at each health facility, there's at least one staff member who is able to help load or unload the drone and understand its basic functioning. We also have to factor a drone technical expert every year to help with the maintenance. So we're looking at 5 to 6 personnel for the whole program. And finally is the stakeholder engagement. So as our first speaker, Oliviera, mentioned, we have to make sure that we are constantly keeping government and local communities engaged in this program. When we look at the running cost from year 2 to 5, we're looking at including the drone maintenance, the drone app maintenance, so software updates, actually operating the drone hub, continuing the stakeholder engagement, continuing personnel training, so making sure there's refresher trainings, or if there's any replacement in staff, factoring that in, and finally to purchase a drone battery, because that will have to be replaced within that 5-year period. When we're looking at the budget for year 1, within 1 year, you can see that the first 4 months we have hypothetically dedicated to government approvals. The next 2 months is for actually setting everything up, so transporting the drone, setting up the hub, and then only the last 6 months is for actually implementing the drone, so actually having them fly and deliver medicines. This we estimate costs about 39 to 40 lakhs for year 1. You can see that about 70% of that first year budget is just dedicated to capital costs, so setting up the app, setting up the hub, whereas only 30% is dedicated to the operating cost. So any maintenance that needs to be done or the stakeholder engagement. In year two, that cost, the yearly cost is actually almost halved. So it's only 18 to 19 lakhs that we estimate, because it is operational. So you can see here about half of that cost goes to HR costs, so making sure we keep our staff on the project. About 46% goes to maintenance, so drone and app maintenance along with the drone center operation. And finally, almost 4% goes to community engagement, so refresher trainings and stakeholder engagement meetings. Then when we actually look at it year by year, and we calculated the year one and year two costs separately, because we also wanted to see if there will be a profit for private companies if they are part of this partnership. So in year one, because capital costs drive up the total cost, it will be about 13 to 14,000 NPR per package. So even if one drone is delivering to 2 facilities, so it's delivering 2 packages in a day, it will be 13 to 14,000 for that one delivery to one facility. In year two, that cost comes down significantly because it only accounts for the operational costs. And in years 1 to 5, so if we're looking overall from years 1 to 5, we're looking at 2 to 3,000. So that cost also comes down because the number of packages being delivered goes up. And that's ideally if it's there's 2 packages being delivered every day. So some of the key takeaways that we have is that the life cycle of a drone is usually 5 years, which is why we've done a 5-year cost model. And overall, we're looking at 2 to 3,000 NPR per delivery to a health center in those 5 years. The costs will vary at every district. As I mentioned, the factors that we have to take, how many facilities are we targeting, how many drones do we need? So this cost model is based off of one drone in one drone hub in the hospital in Humla. But in other districts, it may be more drones or more hospitals that would be a hub, which means that we have to double or triple the cost model cost. We also have to consider, again, the elevation, the number of packages that can be delivered. So this cost model will look different, but the overall template and the model can be applied anywhere. When we're looking at actual funds, the federal funds can be channeled either to a local level. So each local level can have an equal number of funds and then apply it to a drone system, or it can be also distributed based on the need. Again, because the drone delivery service will look different in each district, it can also be delivered based on the need at the local level. When we actually look at if private drone companies can partner locally, they can also do it directly with local governments. In this case, we also estimated that if one distribution center has an average income, a profit of at least 3,000 to 4,000 NPR per month per distribution center, then private companies can afford to also make a profit of at least 3 lakhs in a year. And again, this may change based on the district. When we one of the main points that came up when we spoke to private drone companies was that the process for getting approval and the import taxes for a cost were quite high. So if we can find some way to subsidize or waive that, then it decreases the capital costs by almost 7%. And it doesn't mean waiving the approval process, it just means streamlining it so that it may not take up to 4 or 6 months. And then finally, a drone actually implementing a pilot in 2 to 3 districts or in a cluster of local levels can help identify the correct drone that needs to be used so we can better kind of tweak this cost model if needed. And it will also help us understand what are the areas that may need additional software or additional costs for the drone to actually deliver the medicine safely. So understanding some local level challenges and having a set of cost models so that we know how much it may cost in various districts will be very helpful as well. Thank you.